Paintball nerd.
All right, today's guest on Paintball Nerds Fun 5 has been playing paintball since 1997. He started playing tournaments in 2003 and he went pro in 2006 with X Factor. He's part of the best kids in Texas. He started coaching X Factor in 2011. He plays 10-man with Infamous and he's part of Project Paintball. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Ryan Brand.
There we are. How you doing, Isaac?
Good, man. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Of course, happy to be here.
So I watched Best Kids in Texas. I purchased it as soon as I could. As soon as I saw that thing on iTunes, I bought it right away, and that's where I got to see you. You know,
Definitely, yeah. That was a really cool process. Really enjoyed. I definitely probably had a little bit more hand in it than some of the other guys working with Dan Napoli and kind of really, guiding that process a little bit and getting all the storytelling, correct. And just, I really enjoyed it. So I went deep with it, and it was just really cool how, it took multiple years to really kind of get it done and get it out there in the first iteration. And then, we had that strong year in 2019 and kind of got to add that on and do a re-release, and it's really great just kind of get to tell our story how it was and have other people get to watch it.
it's an amazing story, man, and I know BKIT did for the new generation what Push did for me as a young paintball player.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. I grew up watching Push and Sunday Drivers, and it kind of gave me kind of a look at the the rock star age of paintball and gave me something to want to strive to and do. And so I hope we kind of caught a little bit of that magic. And if we inspired anybody to chase the dream, I'm super happy with that.
Yeah, it made me want to get back in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
Good. There we go.
Yeah. I saw you, and you were kind of explaining how you're this wild kid, and now you're just so even keeled. It's kind of like hard to imagine you as like a, just like a wild kid.
Yeah. I guess maybe I kind of sowed my wild oats when I was younger, but I try to, I definitely through life and having kids now and all that, it's kind of calmed me down a little bit, and I got my wild kids of my own, and but yeah, I'm still solo crazy and stuff, but I definitely sometimes I got to hold it together a little bit, and for the squad.
Yeah. Well, a lot of amazing memories, I'm sure, with your best friends that you have on X Factor. So tell us about a memory in paintball that really stands out for you.
Oh gosh, there's so many. I think from my playing days, I think a big one for me, personally, was it was actually semi-pro, but when we were playing pro in the NXL, but we were playing semi-pro and 7-man at the time because we hadn't won a pro spot yet. And it was the Huntington Beach 2007 that we were playing Aftermath, and it was one of those things that was just such a cool event with the stadium stands. I can't even count or guess how many people were in those things, just all over. And playing Aftermath and their home field and the crowd being very much against us and yelling at us, and just kind of coming through. And, I had a big part in winning that one. And for me, it was huge because for a long time on X Factor, I was really trying to fight my way up for playing time. And so kind of to get my shot to really kind of, shine in those finals was really big. And so as a player, that was probably the big one that stands out to me the most. So, it's just a real personal moment. And as a coach, there's a couple of them. There's winning World Cup was huge. And that's something that I'll never forget at all. And then the 2019 run we went on as well. That one was a little bit more special just because it felt like we'd fought so hard and so long to kind of get back on top and to finally break through after all the heartbreak and tough losses, and really kind of push through to get it, and start winning those events and eventually win the series. It just, even though it wasn't, I think we wound up getting third at World Cup at the end of 2019, but just, I don't know, it was just different. I think the World Cup we won, I don't want to call it and say it came easier back then, but there was fewer pro teams, fewer games on Sunday. It was just, it's always been very difficult to win, but it just felt a little bit different to these days where it's a fight all the way through. Just to make
Yeah.
Sunday now is a grind.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had a big part of that win. For those that haven't seen Best Kids in Texas, tell us about the moves that you made to
Yeah,
help your
so
team to victory.
that Huntington Beach, that 2007, it was in the quarterfinals. The whole thing was just crazy. We played the Bushwhackers in the quarterfinals, and it was on all our games. I think because we were the number one seed. Sometimes in 7-man you'd play some of the other fields until you got to the finals, but we were on the center court the whole way. And I just remember the Bushwhackers game, the quarterfinals. It was just a real close one that we had a long car wash snake that year, and I wound up there inside of the car wash and just caught a couple guys coming through, and it was the best 2 out of 3 series, and we squeaked through that, and then we played Arsenal, and just another similar crazy. It's hard for me to remember everything, but I do remember at the end I ran through and I bunkered one of the last guys, and he threw his gun at me, and then they started shooting out of the pit, and it was just like just absolute chaos, to go through to get to Aftermath, and then it was the best 2 out of 3 finals, and we were down the first game, down on bodies, and we kind of I kind of stood up over the top and just kind of saw a seam and ran through and bunkered their center 50. And he happened to spin on me, and they got a 2-for-1 right there. And it just really quickly flipped the game into our favor. And that one ended, real quickly. And so we went to the next game to try to put it away. And Ryan Cohen, one of the Cohen brothers, we once again, we were losing the first game. Kenny Rosenberg came down to our snake. Shot 2 people. I was able to sneak one off on him before it got too, he got too many of us in our snake. He was in there real quick, and Ryan Cohen pulled it back for us on the Dorito side. And it was one of those things that we were already up a game. I don't have people that remember 7-man that if you're up a game, you could, if you stalemated up on bodies the next game, you could win it.
Yep.
And I'm yelling at Ryan, like, we're good. Like, don't do it. And he goes for the move and he gets caught. And so we wind up in the 3-on-3, and it's just one of those things that Mini Mike like dove into the snake. And what happened is I jumped over, and when Ryan ran through, I was in the center 50 slot bunker, like the big spike. And when Ryan ran through, I had a feeling that he was going to get caught. I was telling him not to do it. And I dove across into the 50 Dorito while they were shooting him, and they just didn't see me make the move. And so they came into the snake. I caught Mini Mike, and then I think Cody Bayless went down, and I think I bunkered Bobby Vilas. Rest in peace. I love Bob. And that was it. And so it was just a really cool, moment there that it's, I don't think people really, expected us to come into 7-man and do so well. And then, the following year, we got the pro spot, and then, the guys in 2008, won the Huntington Beach there. So it was just kind of a cool one. Huntington Beach was so special, such a special event. And then I understand the logistics and the cost involved in trying to do something like that again. But, I hope at some point, paintball somehow finds a way back, because it was amazing.
It would, dude. Those were the best events.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's so many people watching that don't normally watch paintball. So that amplified things, even as a player, and when you're telling these stories, it's like, as a paintball player, I'm putting myself kind of in, like, I'm imagining that happening to me. And I kind of like, it gets you charged up. It makes you want to play, it's like, it's crazy how paintball does that, because it didn't even happen to me. And you're telling it, I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if like someone who doesn't play paintball, if it affects them the same way,
Yeah, it's they just got to see it. And honestly, like, from that event, you got the surfers and stuff, and it was just a little bit different. Getting the stands packed, I think, just raises that atmosphere level that you don't necessarily have to know everything going on in paintball to kind of feel it, and just feel the energy. And if we can find a way to recreate that energy, and we have it at World Cup in the later rounds, but I don't know. I think if we can get in places where there's, more people and tell the story more and create more of that kind of rock star or superhero, vibe and stuff, I think, it'll be more gravitating to people than maybe some of the stuff that we're having to do right now.
Totally. So Ryan, tell me what it's like the difference in feeling between winning on the field and winning behind the clipboard.
Big difference, I would say. Behind the clipboard, while you're involved very much so in every aspect and every point of it, once the horn goes off for each point, it's really kind of out of your hands at that point of what happens, what's going to take place. And I remember the losses a lot, closer than the wins, and then kind of getting that 300-foot view of what's going on in the field. You realize in paintball how close it is at that top level, and how the smallest things can change, whether a ball bounces or someone looks off at just the wrong moment or anything, where you can have everything lined up right, and you can be, if the teams are out there on kind of equal footing talent wise, sometimes it's just luck's a strong word, because you can make your own luck out there, I believe, but sometimes it's you can have the paint breaks on people 99 times out of 100, and it's just that one ball at the wrong time. Where we've I think we had a World Cup 2 years ago in the finals, so it was when Tyler was last on, so I think that was the COVID finals. I believe it was the COVID finals. It was. And we're playing the World Cup finals, and Jesse Stevens core samples off the break, and it's one of those things that Jesse, all through practice, all through the tournament, he not once, Jesse's not a guy that does that often, and just caught it the wrong way, and core samples in overtime. And it's one of those things, we're up on bodies to win the World Cup in overtime, and Jesse can't get his gun going. It's just sometimes it's just those little things. Or this past World Cup, we're playing in overtime against Heat in the quarterfinals, and Billy gets down into their snake and pops up and bounces Ronnie 3 times, and we were already up a body, so that was to make it a 4-on-2. It's just like, and the paint, it shot great the whole tournament, and it just we're not bouncing a lot of people, and just sometimes it's just not meant to be, I guess. In that same overtime point, Colt's gun went down off the break, going on to their side of the field. And it's sometimes it's just like, I don't know if it's the paintball gods of the universe, that it just might not be your time. It just might not be meant to be. And as a team, as a coach, your job is to put it in a place where you're not in overtime, that you're beating someone, just like Dynasty beat Damage in the finals there. You beat them by 6 points. I don't care what type of luck you're having, you're probably still going to win, so that's your job, is to be that much better, that elite and that precise on everything you're doing. But it is a weird sport sometimes, that you kind of sit back and go, man, and from watching it, your heart's beating, you can't really get on the field and do anything about it. And sometimes it's and I make bad calls just like players make bad moves, and I make great calls just like players make great moves. But it's you feel like you're a little bit less in control of what takes place out there, and it's definitely gets your heart rate up.
So would you say that you feel behind the clipboard more pressure or less pressure?
It's an interesting one. Look, I don't carry that much pressure, because I know how talented my team is, and often they will bail me out. And so it's one of those situations that, I have a lot of confidence that even if I'm able to organize them in a plan that they all believe and can execute on, that if they're believe in it, then, and they can execute, then they're really good, and they can often, bail me out even if I make an error. So there's a little bit less pressure, because as a player, you make one bad move and you get shot in the face and everybody sees it, and you might be the one that lets everybody down. So I think I have a little bit less pressure there. But at the same time, and when I'm at tournaments, like, I'm working the entire time. Teams going to dinner, I'm often watching film. Teams, going to bed early. I'm up watching film. I'm doing everything I can, so I know that I can lay my head down at night and know that win or lose, I did everything I could. And then I lose and I can learn from what I could have done better, right? And then I don't have to sit there and have the pressure of I just lost it for us, or I made a mistake, and I let the team down because I'm doing everything I can. And I think players to the same extent, I think as our team, like we don't, every tournament usually comes down to sometimes one guy making an error, but we support each other and we don't go in on that guy that, hey, you lost it for us, because we know that it should never come down to that. It should never come down to one mistake. And so, but yeah, it's definitely it's hard. I would say that the worst thing is watching and being out of control, but of what takes place out there. But as long as the pressure's not too bad. I like the points to go faster. Yeah. So
I mean, like you said, you got a bunch of really dependable guys, so that helps out with it. And I think I know the answer to this question because I know who your best friend is. But do you have a favorite player?
Well, it kind of goes through it, like I really enjoyed coaching Archie, and I learned a lot from him, and to have the ability to work with someone who's like-minded in concept and ideas and bounce stuff off each other was great, while we did it for 10 seasons or whatever it was. But, I have a lot of, great, I could say the same things about Cole Roberts, being able to do that. And, being able to coach Billy Bernaccia is just a blessing, because there's just not that many Billies out there to have ever done it. So I kind of get to walk out there with an ace up my sleeves at all times, because, the guy knows what he's doing out there, and there's just not that many people that can go head to head with them in the snake. So I have a lot of, favorite players, getting to work with, as far as I've only had one season with LJ Parrish, but he's one of my favorite players just because he's just a kind of a grimy dude that's like, no bullshit. I asked him to do something, he's going to go do it. And, it's been great. So yeah, I've had it's hard to really narrow that question down. Like there's a lot, there's a lot of people that I've been able to work with that, make me happy to continue to do this. Cause I will tell you that, it is much more fun to play paintball than to coach paintball, like by
I bet.
a wide margin. And, when I stopped playing, it was to, take a step away and get my real life, I was finishing college and, get things in order, right? I was having a hard time balancing the two. If I would have realized how deep into coaching I would have gotten at this point, and I don't get me wrong, I love coaching, I would have come back and tried to be a player again and restart my career that way, because it's so much more enjoyable. But I think
that's what 10 man's for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what 10 man's brought back to me. But I do think at the end of the day, I'm a better coach than I ever was a player. So that's my path, right? And that's the burden I bear of what I can be elite at. And at the end of the day, like I want to help a team win, and that's where I'm going to try to do it. And then luckily 10 man came back in my life, and I don't have to sit back with the regrets that I used to have. And, to another one, to Montresor. And I know there's a lot of people involved in that 10 man resurgence, but, Tim was the one for me that got me back in. And, he gave a lot back to me, because I did, I can admit it now, but I really couldn't admit it even out loud to myself before, but I really regretted that I stopped playing, back then. But now that I got 10 man back and I get to get out there and really reignited my, my overall love for the sport and any burnout I was experienced from just coaching. Now it's great. So a little bit more time consumption, right? Balancing everything, but getting back on that 10 man field it's been huge for me. It's going to allow me to keep coaching, for a long time. Cause I don't know if I want to say I fell out of love with the sport, but it was definitely becoming more of a grind and a job than my passion. Yeah. So to get it all back and packaged together, and it's allowed me to dive back in deeper into the sport.
Dude, I love 10 man so much. Like I it resonated a lot with me when you said in Best Kids in Texas that you were more of a timing guy. Um, Me too. Like it,
Mhm.
and I like 10 man because it's that format where you could make a big move and it matters. You could win the game for your team. And in X ball, like you could make an amazing move, but if you're down 6-1, who cares?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you got to make it six more times. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
so yeah, I love the 10 man format. I love the vibe of the event itself. Like it's a lot less stressful. I feel like, I mean, from just from an observation standpoint, X ball seems really stressful to me. It doesn't seem as fun as I remember it. But
Mhm.
I'm also older, and I don't like throwing my body to the ground as much as I did when I was a kid. So yeah, I really like 10 man. But like outside of like favorite players like on your team, like so let's say picture and imagine you're you're an amateur player, okay, and you've got these players that you idolize. Who would you say is your favorite player to watch?
Okay. Current pro or ever, or what would
Don't
you say?
overthink it. Just let it
Don't
flow.
overthink it. Okay. Let it flow. Let it flow out. So, currently, I really like to watch. I think Tyler Harmon is a great one to watch, and just um, he's just one of these guys that you just can never count out ever
Mhm.
on the field. And we practice heat a lot, and it's like how many times like I think I went over to Tom Martinez and like I love Tyler, but I might kill him. Like actual like find a way to do a murder if he keeps doing this because so many times we would be up on bodies and he's the last guy left and just like doop, doop, they win the point and it's making me pull my hair out.
Yeah.
So, Tyler's a great human, and he's also he's very dangerous out there, no matter the scenario. So
Yeah.
that's that. Growing up, I was 100% an Oliver fanboy, and definitely, and I think that's where I fell in love with studying the timing of moves, and I kind
Mm.
of trying to take from that and just kind of watching, what Oliver was doing in seven man, and just the to me the beautiful moment in paintball, and you don't see it as much anymore in X ball, but you do is kind of that you see someone kind of not have so much pressure on them, right? Realize it, kind of look over the top of the bunker, and then you just kind of can see the thoughts going on in
Calculations.
their heads, the
Yeah.
calculation taking place, and then they
Yeah, I love that.
launch, right?
Yeah.
And Oliver was huge at doing that, so I used to love that. And the other one is Lasoya, is Pony Boy. Watching what he was doing, and just like the real rock star paintball, and
Mm.
now getting to now over the past 4 years, I've played I don't know 15, 20 tournaments with Lasoya, and he's still like that guy that he's still the body might need to be the same, the wheels aren't what they used to be, right? But he's still kind of he gets it, right? He understands
Yeah.
it, um, and also just an amazing human. So it's cool. Like I've said this to Chris before, but they always say like I don't exactly know the quote off my head. Don't grow up to meet your idols. Basically you'll be let down.
Yeah.
And for me, like Chris just wasn't that. To really get to know the guy well, of someone who even as a pro player, and when I first went pro, we were just a bunch of like we were young kids. We were all 16 years old, and while we did compete well and we did win tournaments, it still was. I still had insecurities of even trying to like feel as a peer of someone like an Oliver or a Chris back then. I was still competing while secretly idolizing, if you will.
Yeah.
So to kind of now get to really travel with Chris and just kind of really is like some of these guys that it's just cool. It's just cool. I'm the zero letdown of these guys are not they're great people. And I think there's a lot of people in our sport that have risen to the top. And these dynasty guys, especially that are at the end of the day, like while they've won so much and statistically so much more than anybody else, but they're still like haven't let it dehumble them to the point where they're still great humans. So it's cool. I
Yeah.
think we have paintball creates a really good community of top to bottom.
Yeah, and I think lately paintball's become more um, inclusive. Like there used to be like little cliques and stuff like that, little rivalries. And I think it still exists in a healthy way. But overall, especially at the 10 men events, like everyone is there and it's hugs all around. You know, it's like
Hmm.
everyone's like realizes like kind of like, hey, like we're all kind of in this swimming pool together. Like we all love this same thing. And there's a lot of camaraderie. It's really cool to see.
Absolutely.
So Ryan, do you have a favorite piece of equipment, or well, so you don't play anymore. So let me ask you this: is there something in your paintball closet or drawer that you cherish?
Yeah. Let me see here. So, I mean, I mean, this one's hilarious, but I have a microfiber cloth that I had from like 2006 that, I've just held on. And I don't know, there's a lot of people probably that played back then that realized that how important and how much better some of those cloths were. It's like no one could
Yeah.
recreate it for decades. And I think Bart maybe got his hands on recently some similar material. But I have this one green microfiber cloth that I carried around, and now in all the 10 mans I have it and stuff, and it's kind of like this weird keepsake to me. That I think my first tournament back with Infamous playing 10 man, that we washed our laundry together, and it went missing, and I was like the crazy new guy in the team, like, no, like, who's got it, like, I need the cloth back. So it's pretty hilarious.
Dude, that's
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
it's pretty ridiculous. So I don't even know if it's a superstition at this point. But and then, like, yeah, like some of the first gun release that me and Archie did, the Project G CS2. I have um, I have one I anodized green to black, and with the matching mech frame, and that's kind of my baby. And eventually this year, I imagine we'll get a Project CS3s in the plans at some point, and but I just don't know if I'll ever sell that one. And I also
Yeah.
have my 2007 from that tournament I talked about at Huntington Beach. I still have that ego in my closet.
Oh,
And
sweet.
yeah, so I don't think I'll
Does it
ever let
work?
go of that one. Well, I haven't aired it up, but from all I know about Planet Eclipse over the years, that it probably still does. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
would be surprised that those
Good
things
chance.
just, yeah, good chance. So, but yeah, those are kind of my paintball go tos.
So I had this microfiber um, that I got back in like the early 2000s, and it was like one of the Grail ones that just worked
Hmm.
amazing. It's silver cloth,
Hmm.
and what was special about it is it had an aftershock logo on it. Like I acquired it during during one of the games, and at one of the ICPLs last year, I think it was the Florida event at Tiki's. Um, I was doing laundry, and Poopy came in to do laundry too, and it went missing. And I'm Poopy, if you're watching this, I know you stole my microfiber.
He might have
I know
stole it
that for a
back.
fact.
You might have got it from him in the first place.
I know. That's true. Dang it. But that thing was so special. I feel like I shouldn't have even used it. I should just use a different microfiber
Yeah.
because the thing was so special to me. But that's funny that your special item is a microfiber too. Right on. So, Ryan, okay, so you have reached the top as a player, you've reached the top as a coach, you've reached the top in the industry. You've got like the holy trifecta of what people want to achieve in paintball. How do you get there?
Well, I definitely wouldn't say the top in some of those areas, but definitely striving for it, right? And really, it's constant pursuit of the passion to get better, especially from the coaching end of it, and now what the way me and Archie kind of attack project and the industry side of it. It's constant willing to mind your ego, right? And don't feel like the learning has stopped, or better, or you can't learn from somebody else. A lot of it is A, learning from your mistakes, and then B, learning from others, be it that if they are succeeding, or if they're not, you can learn from other people's mistakes as well. And you just can't really get complacent on where you're at in this sport, because everybody is growing. Everyone's it's a passion for a lot of people. And I think what some people don't realize is that while our players aren't getting paid what traditional sports are and some of these other areas, um, I think it means more for some of our people that we're chasing our passion and treating it
Yeah.
like that. And some might be working harder than some other areas of people that's their job. And so if you're willing to sacrifice everything that most players are sacrificing, you're definitely on the pursuit of greatness for a lot of people. And if you're kind of keeping that and everyone's on that, it's just increasing the level, like up and up and up. So to me, it's like, if you want to reach the top, you can never stop climbing, because there is no real top in paintball. That I believe. It's like you just got to keep the mountain just keeps getting taller and taller.
Boom, wisdom right there.
Yeah.
So Ryan, what are you most thankful for that paintball's given you?
Oh man, I mean, it's given me so much. It's given me a family of brothers, of people that, the guys I grew up with and that don't even play anymore. Almost every single one of them is still a close friend of mine. And I do business with these people. I do, just everything. I know that I can pick up the phone and they're there for me. And that family grows, each and every year as we, pick up new players or any of that kind of thing, and or have more experience with people. And then the community itself is so much more than just who you played with or who it's who you've competed against. And I think it's a really strong community that it provides for you. And then for us, like having Alex Martinez as kind of I have amazing parents. And so it's not that I was void of a father figure, but to get a second one, for free, is just such an asset, and it's, he's such an amazing human that doesn't, demand or really ask anything of you. He's so giving, and he's given us this opportunity. And it's, as our team, all of those guys that went through it in this very formidable, teenage years that really chased this dream that Alex embodied for us. And it's not a coincidence that a lot of the guys that did retire, or guys that are still playing from that team that went pro, are very successful in life. And many of them, and I mean this, both Coen brothers, the Odell brothers, extremely successful, people in business. And it is, I think a lot of it's what Alex, instilled in us and showed us the way of how to work smart, how to work hard, and how to chase something. And so when their days with paintball were over, they just continued to do that. And there's a lot of those success stories within our team. And I think it goes against the common narrative, which I don't think is true in general at all, but where people try to poo-poo on pro paintball and, oh, these guys they don't make any money, they're losers. I have some people, they live in their parents' basements and crap like that, where it's just like, you don't realize that what it takes to be great in one thing, if you figure that out, to apply that to other things, and we know what a lot of us consider the real world, is such a tool, and it's amazing. So chasing paintball as a dream as a young man, to me, there's nothing I would say, oh, don't do that. Go do something else. That'll be a waste. The opportunities to do what, a lot of us did, and travel the world and learn lessons, and hard lessons, right? And learn how to lose graciously and how to get back up. Is you lose a lot more in paintball than you win, especially in a sport that's often dominated by teams and sprees, right? So it's like, you had Ironman, then Aftershock, and then Dynasty, and then Impact, and Dynasty again, and then it's often dominated by a team in a section of time, and everyone else is dedicating the same amount of time and losing and losing and losing, and just waiting in their wings for their opportunities to win. And it's not so much about the wins and losses, but the process of what it takes to become better and shoot your shot when it opens up for you. And I think that is what I'm most grateful for, is to be able to learn those lessons, instill that in others, take that into business myself. Hopefully one day be able to instill that in my children. And a lot of that, was really, it came from Alex. So that's where I'm most grateful, 100%.
Man, that was beautifully articulated. Thank you so much for your time here, Ryan. Thank you for gracing us with your salon quality hair. Is there anything that you want to part with? I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
No,
Is there
no.
anything that you want to part with for the paintball community?
No, I mean, I think it's, I want to shoot a shout out to my business partner, Archie Montemayor, one of my best friends, that just, for pushing me, right? We push each other. And I think that's what's become, beauty through paintball and now through business and in life. So that's a big shout out I'd like to give. And for the paintball community, I think it's just kind of what I'm saying. It's just to keep pressing. Don't be negative. Anytime I see the sport is dead, it just it kills me, because I know it's not true, and it's literally someone that's often bitter about how it turned out for them. And from someone myself that felt like I gave it up a little too early. If you're still, clearly these people are still there to say this sport is dead, like you're still looking, so it still means something to you. So quit being bitter and go do something about it. At the end of the day, paintball is fun. It's inherently fun. I personally paid $200 for me and my wife to go play rec ball 2 weeks ago, because there's an amazing rec ball field by me, and it's fun, so it's like there's it's such an amazing game, and let's be positive, let's find ways forward, and that's really what I like to leave people with. But it's just the sport's beautiful, so let's just be positive and support each other.